This is To the Point with Michael Williams.
Good morning and welcome. The Florida primary around the corner, August 18th, and one state Senate race is notable for the harsh tone at times of both Democratic contenders. This morning, we're talking to State Representative Tina Polsky and former Representative Irv Slosberg. State Senate District 29 includes portions of Palm Beach County, including Boca Raton, West Delray, Wellington, South Bay, and more. What are your legislative priorities if elected?
Thank you, Michael. The first and foremost thing we have to do is deal with the COVID-19 pandemic. That means dealing with unemployment insurance, fixing the broken system, dealing with healthcare, and preparing ourselves for a possible another pandemic, because we might have thought this was science fiction once before, but clearly this is something we have to prepare for as a state, have the proper medical supplies in place, ready to go. We're really good at doing this for hurricanes, but now we know this could be another possibility. So that's priority number one. Priority number two is continuing to work on public school funding and teacher salaries. We were very pleased to get new teacher salaries into the budget this past year, despite even all the vetoes, but veteran teachers have not been taken care of the right way. So I'd like to continue to push for that. My very first bill when I became a state representative was for teacher pay, so it's something that is very important to me. And thirdly, while there are many, I will just pick for the moment, dealing with the continuing gun violence problem that we have. We have just been unable to get gun safety legislation through the Florida State House, and we need to continue to work on that, and that will always be a focus for me.
There has been the observation that you and your opponent, Irv Slosberg, are really not that far apart on the issues. The Palm Beach Post said, Irv Slosberg and Tina Polsky know each other. They have Tallahassee experience. They agree on most issues, including the ones you named, but the gloves have come off. Why should people pick you over Mr. Slosberg? What's the difference? They say you're not really that far apart on the issues. We'll get to the mudslinging in a moment.
Sure. That's a common issue that happens in a primary, being both members of the Democratic Party. But the real difference between us is what's going on right now. I'm living every day as a state representative the COVID-19 pandemic crisis. And I'm working with my constituents, helping them, literally holding their hands, along with my amazing staff. Quick shout out to Alexis, Terry, and Robert, who are working day and night to help our constituents with the unemployment situation, getting food in their mouths. We literally started a shopping program for a senior living area to help them get their groceries, dealing with getting testing, getting more testing in the area, helping them manage their way through results. And any issue that they might have had before, any constituent issue, is just amplified in this crisis. So I'm in the thick of it, and I am ready to go on day one as a state senator. And I think you need someone who's doing that.
Why the mudslinging? It's become part and parcel. Anybody watching television has seen it. Mr. Slosberg says you flat out lied, or people who support you have lied by claiming that he's pro-gun and that you've attacked him on several fronts and calling him a dangerous conservative, pro-gun, pro-NRA. Mr. Slosberg says after serving for 12 years in the House, he has a long history of fighting against the gun lobby. And he said it's just absolutely untrue. Quote, I'm deeply offended and hurt by the false advertisements my opponent is running against me. I have never once supported pro-gun legislation. Why the mudslinging? Do you reject those ads?
Sure. There's been quite a bit back and forth, and there are many things that I am offended at as well, which I will get to. As for the ads that have been put out on behalf of my campaign, it is very important, and this leads to the question you asked before about what's the difference between us. I will never depart the Democratic caucus that we have in Tallahassee.
To my question, do you reject those ads as being untruthful?
No, I do not reject those ads.
Even though your opponent says it's flat out not the case. Look at my voting record.
Absolutely. Those ads have been vetted by your station as well as the others that it's airing on. When he put up an objection to them, he had an opportunity to defend it, and all the TV stations independently verified the truth of the matter.
He said these were procedural votes, that they were not about any support for gun legislation, the procedural votes that your ads have sprung from.
It's just not the case. There was a vote to repeal Stand Your Ground. A Democratic member brought it forward. He was the ranking member on the committee. He voted no against a Democratic member. So that is just the facts. He can describe the votes any way he likes. That's his chance, but he's had 12 years in the legislature. He has to defend his votes. But the most important thing, speaking of voting, is a vote that he took in 2002 for the Republican redistricting plan. And that kept the Republicans in power for 10 years. So every other vote he took is diminished in its importance to that one. And there is a redistricting vote coming up for this state senator to take in 2 years. And I believe the big difference between us is that you can trust that I will vote with the Democratic minority. Hopefully we won't be a minority but that is what you have to do. And I will always oppose gun legislation. And the other big difference is I propose my own gun safety legislation. He's had 72 opportunities to do so. You get 6 bills each year. I have proposed gun safety legislation each year, and I fought on the House floor for it. So in my shorter time, I have done more on this issue than he has. So I'm happy to talk about gun legislation all day long. I'm a huge supporter of Moms Demand Action. They've endorsed me as a gun sense candidate. He didn't even bother to do that. This district represents Parkland. I got into politics before the Parkland tragedy, and it has been of paramount importance to me from day one. In January 2018, and then in February 2018, we all know what happened. So my position on this has never wavered. I have always put forth this legislation, and he's the one who's defending his record. But getting back to mudslinging for a moment, and speaking,
Replay, please.
He has put out an ad that says, I have never passed legislation. I have never brought home money to the district. Nothing could be more false. And it would have taken literally 2 minutes of research to look on my page on myfloridahouse.gov to see bills that I have passed and appropriations that I have brought forward. It's lazy, it's inept, it shows a lack of work ethic. He simply could have asked his daughter, Emily, did you vote on Tina's vessels bill? And she would have said, yes, Dad, I did twice. And that bill passed. Simple research.
And now her Democratic opponent, former State House veteran Irv Slosberg.
Mr. Slosberg, what are your legislative priorities should you wind up in the Florida Senate?
Well, we have 3 main issues right now going on. We have COVID, and we have the unemployment issue, and we have the education issue. As far as COVID goes, this is a huge issue. We need a state testing. We need a formal strategy for state testing. Testing has to be accessible for anyone with symptoms. If you take a test, you get it back in 4 hours or less. Results are given in 24 hours. Testing sites have to be 30 minutes from your home. Doing everything possible to keep COVID-19 out of nursing homes and assisted living facilities. Making masks mandatory in the state of Florida. Stiff fines for people who do not wear their masks. As far as the unemployment situation goes, it's all broken. And the reason it's all broken is because of the fact that, and I've voted against Rick Scott's plan for $275 a week. And, as a businessman, what you got to do is you got to test something out before you roll it out. And since for the last 22 years, it's been under Republican control. And so this is a huge issue with the unemployment. And then the next thing, and what we have to do is we have to get loans for small businesses. We've got to stimulate the economy. And the next thing is that we need money for education because of the fact that teachers with the distance learning, and God knows what's going to happen with the distance learning, they're used to teaching inside bricks and mortar in the classroom.
Mr. Slosberg, the Palm Beach Post had opined that you and your opponent in the Democratic primary, Ms. Polsky, are really not altogether different on the issues, and yet there's been so much mudslinging, and I need to give you a chance to respond to that. She has called you, or ads of hers have called you, a dangerous conservative, pro-gun, pro-NRA. One said you're a dangerous man, quoting here, who repeatedly sided with the NRA. When I interviewed her, she said that there was a specific vote. She said that it came up, a Democratic member at one point had brought forward a vote to repeal Stand Your Ground, and as the ranking member, you voted no. What do you say to her charges?
Okay, first and foremost, I received an F from the NRA while I was in office. In 2005, I was one of only 17 Democrats to vote against Stand Your Ground. I'm proud of that vote. Following the death of Trayvon Martin, Representative Williams hastily filed a bill to repeal Stand Your Ground. The bill was heard in committee to give both sides a voice to discuss Stand Your Ground. However, the bill would have repealed the right for people to protect themselves in their own home, which was an unintended consequence. I won't vote on a bill that compromises people's safety. Almost every Democrat voted against the repealer bill because we had a different strategy that wouldn't leave Floridians vulnerable in their own home. As the top-ranking Democrat on criminal justice, I led a petition to call for a special session strictly on Stand Your Ground. Tina, why would Democratic leadership make me the ranking member of Criminal Justice Committee if I was pro-gun? I am not a friend of the NRA. I'm the enemy of the NRA. And you know, as to the controversy, you know, like I'll give you an example. I met my friend Robert at the gym, and he said to me, "Hey, Irv, you're a TV star. I saw you wearing a Republican hat, and you were for guns in school. Why would somebody say this about you?" I said, "Robert, I was a Republican 23 years ago. Is it a crime to switch parties? I saw the light. As to the guns, I didn't vote for guns in school or guns in nightclub or carry or open carry, Stand Your Ground. This was witnessed by Representative David Kerner, who's now the mayor of Palm Beach County. I was the representative for Boca and Delray. Do you think they would elect a representative who votes for guns in school? I have an F rating from the NRA.
Mr.
And the problem is, yeah.
Need to move on. She also said, most pointedly, she said in 2002, you voted for a Republican redistricting plan that solidified the GOP in power for years. Your response to that critique?
Well, Miss Polsky has a problem. And the problem is she lies about everything. And the question comes down to, why would she lie about everything? And it's a very simple issue. She's done nothing. She's absolutely done nothing. And so the only way for her to possibly win is to fill up people's mailboxes. In fact, I got 7 negative mailers from her. And on television, I'm a dangerous Republican with guns, and it's all nonsense. I mean, you know what this is? This is a shanda, Michael. This is a shanda. In the Jewish religion, she should be ashamed of herself, really. This is a shanda, her trying to turn upside down a guy who's worked so hard for the community, for children. And, you know, like, I don't know, I just don't understand. She's like Donald Trump.
She says she did pass a boater safety bill, abandoned vessel cleanup, also that she'd introduced in the House. The Florida Senate passed a version of a Holocaust education bill she introduced in the House that makes Holocaust education mandatory in charter schools, also passed an economic development bill. She says you're being unfair to her. Your response to that critique, and within that, in our final moments, are voters ill-served by both of you with this kind of mudslinging? When I go back to the top of our interview, when the Post says on critical issues for Floridians, you're not that far apart.
Hey, listen, Michael, she starts filling up everyone's mailboxes. And you know why she starts filling up everybody's mailboxes in the TVs? Because I know how to get things done. I'm a legislative machine whose legislation has saved tens of thousands of lives. My laws are all grand slam home runs. I understand the budget. I was on the Justice Committee, the Healthcare Committee, the Transportation, Education, all budget committees. You want a legislative machine who knows how to get things done and bring money home, or someone who will lie her way into getting this job who has accomplished nothing? You know what? Times are tough. People are scared. We need someone like me who's battle tested and always delivered results. Compare myself to Tina. She knew there was no way to beat me on my record. So what does she do? She lies. She fills up people's mailboxes. She tells stories of me being a dangerous Republican and a friend of the NRA. She made me a TV star with a Republican hat and guns next to me. It's like I said before. There's a word about this, and it's called chanda in the Jewish religion. It means disgrace to our community. I worked hard for the community for 20 years in the legislature.
Mr. Slosberg, please wrap. We're going to have to wrap it up.
Well, anyway, she told more lies at the debate yesterday. She said that the TV stations vetted her commercials for the truth. She's lying. The TV stations are not there to decide who's telling the truth.
Mr. Slosberg, we're going to have to leave it there. We thank you for your time very, very much.
Thank you, Michael.
By the way, Brian Norton, the Republican running in Senate District 29, unopposed, so he moves on to the general election. We'll look forward to talking to him in the fall. Coming up, Jill Biden talks about the VP running mate pick ahead for her husband and political ads and more as her husband vies for the White House. And we'll have the Republican counterpoint.